Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to West Coast Elements. My name is Benton, and today I want to talk about some unexpected times where I've had to come out. Before we dive into this topic, I wanted to bring up something very important, and that is when you are coming out as anything, there is times where it's going to be safe and comfortable to do that, and other times, using your best judgment, you're not going to feel safe and comfortable coming out. So if you are in a situation that is not ideal and you don't feel safe coming out, please protect yourself and do what is best for you. In all of the situations I'm going to talk about today, I did feel safe and comfortable coming out to these people, as they are, for the most part, medical professionals, or it has something to do with my medical history. So without further ado, let's get into some of these awkward, unexpected situations. So recently I was at the bank. Wow, great. And I was having some of my life insurance and my disability insurance transferred over to a different company. So I went through my bank to do this. And within this process, to determine a lot of things in your insurance policy, you have to talk about your health and your medical history. So they go through all of the questions. They talk about if I'm a smoker, if I'm a non-smoker, and then they asked me about my current medical situation. And so that included things like my medications and whether or not I've had any recent surgeries. And so I'm sitting in this private office with these two middle-aged men. And one of the guys, so relaxed, he's sitting back in his chair, typing up all of my answers to these questions. And the other guy, who is my banker dude, he's sitting there, his legs crossed, and he's kind of just fiddling with his shoelace. And then they ask me, so what surgeries have you had in the past 2 years? And I kind of sit back in my chair, take a deep breath, and I say to them, I'm just going to assume that this is a safe space here. And suddenly I have the guy's attention, who's fiddling with his shoelace, and they both nod their heads and say, yes, of course. And so I say, I have recently had a hysterectomy. And immediately my palms start sweating. I start getting a little bit nervous. I'm unsure of how they're gonna respond, or if they're even gonna understand. Now that I think about it, their reaction was so minimal, but either way, it did not affect my insurance policy. I just went into the bank that day, not expecting to have any sort of trans conversation with anybody there. So I ended up coming out to these two guys at the bank. Their reactions were super professional, and in this situation I was lucky because I felt safe in the room, and the way that they treated me after our conversation did not change, and I was really happy overall with our interaction and the relationship that I'm starting to develop with the people that help me over at the bank. The other thing that I do sometimes is I go to the eye doctor, or the optometrist, if you will. And that's a lie, I haven't seen an optometrist for about 4 or 5 years. So a few weeks ago, I went into the optometrist to get my eyes tested, and because I hadn't been for so long, it was an optometrist I'd never met. And you're probably thinking, well, why does an eye doctor need to know anything about my transition? And it may have just been the way that she was making conversation with me that made me feel super comfortable and really chatty in the moment, and I was just speaking and saying things about myself without thinking how she might react and or like potentially treat me different as a customer. And these are all real fears when I go into any sort of medical situation, even though medical professionals and optometrists, everybody in that field makes me feel safe. On the social and personal aspect of it, they're still a human being with their own opinions, and just because they are in a certain profession doesn't mean that they don't judge or discriminate. They're still a human being, and we don't know what they've been exposed to in their life, or if these certain medical professionals even have the education or the background in these things. Some of them that I've spoken to don't know much about transgender people at all. So I'm sitting in the chair, getting ready to have my eyes tested, and just like the banker, she is taking some notes about my medical history, and the topic of medication comes up. And within our little chat, I say, oh yeah, so I've been taking testosterone for 6 years now. And she was so focused on writing and listening to what I was saying. As soon as I said testosterone, she puts her pen down, turns and looks at me, and she says, why are you taking testosterone? And I don't know what her first thought was. I don't know what her concern was, but I certainly heard it in her voice. And so I didn't say like I'm a female to male trans, what am I? I didn't say I am a transgender man, I take hormone replacement therapy. I didn't feel the need to justify it to her in those terms, so I just said, I have low hormone levels. She accepted that answer, kind of nodded her head, and went back to what she was doing. But the concern that she had, like, when she asked me and in her face was very genuine, and I felt cared for by her. But also I just wanted to say, like, don't worry, it's for my transition. Without testosterone, like, I would be super unhealthy and not happy. She was just making sure that I had the right prescription for my glasses, and I didn't need to go into that at that time. And last but not least, I want to talk about my dentist. So for the past year or so, I've had really bad pain through the right side of my face. It was like this really odd nasal headache that just consumed this whole side of my face and felt like there was so much pressure until I went to the dentist and they said that I had an infection in my gums and it was causing the pain to spread through my mouth into my ears and my nose and up through my head to my eyes. So I had to undergo a few different dental procedures to fix this pain that I was experiencing. But the first time I went in was the day that it was so bad that I went in as an emergency patient. And so right away they needed me to fill out this questionnaire and give them all of my past medical details in order to proceed with the dentist and have my face fixed. And so in their general questionnaire, it asked me to disclose any medical information about myself that may be applicable to the dentist. And so I was thinking, what would be applicable to the dentist? Like, I don't think testosterone affects anything. I don't think my surgeries would affect anything. But I remember in that moment, I was in so much pain and I was just so desperate to be helped. And I didn't feel like keeping any information from them would do any good. But I also felt safe and comfortable enough to provide the information even if it didn't matter to them at all. And so time goes by and I have a few procedures done to my teeth. And then finally the next big one is having my wisdom teeth removed. So I decided to go under to have my wisdom teeth procedure, and because of that, they needed to know specifically about my surgery history. So the dental assistant who had been helping me through all of this, moments before going under, she asked me these questions. And I was surprised, A, that they didn't ask for this information a little bit more in advance before I came in for the procedure. And I told them that when I woke up from my hysterectomy, I was in a panic mode that I'd never been in before. So I told the dentist about that situation, and I told them what helped calm me down after I did wake up in such a panic, just in case it happened again. And so after disclosing my hysterectomy with the dental assistant, I started to sweat again and anticipated her reaction. She was super kind and actually thanked me for sharing that information with her and said that it would be a big help to the dentist and to everybody helping me after I come out of the procedure. So these are all situations where I've had to unexpectedly explain some medical details, which inevitably has led to me coming out to people. And all of the situations I talked about today, it was always a decision I made to share this private information. I could have given more information and I could have given less. But in each scenario, I felt safe enough to explain what I think they needed to know. But I know in the long run, taking a few deep breaths and explaining my transition and my medical situation to these people actually helps them and helps me receive better treatment from them. But again, there is a time and a place, and there are situations around certain people who might not have the same reactions as my dentist did and as my optometrist did. So make sure that you are staying safe, you're taking care of yourself, and always just be cautious with how much you are sharing, because sometimes it's not necessary and you don't have to put yourself at risk in these situations. So with that said, I'm curious if any of you have had to come out unexpectedly and what that situation has been like for you. Leave a comment down below and share some of your stories with us. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time. Bye.